Hi, welcome to the online meeting with SWPS University. This is our fourth one out of series of webinars during which, with the help of experts, we will try to resolve any doubts regarding studying abroad. Today's webinar topic covers stress related to living in uncertain times and how it influences our functioning. Many of you signed up for our series of webinars because you are in the process of making life-changing decisions, what to study and where. We are living in a world of constantly and dynamically changes, so we wanted to share with you the experience and the knowledge of our lecturers, which might help you to cope with the unknown. This is a webinar financed by National Agency for Academic Exchange. My name is Martyna Nadstawna and I work in the International Admissions Office. I'm here today with Ewa Jarczewska-Gercz, Ph.D., assistant professor, social psychologist and business coach, specializing in psychology of emotions and motivations, and also psychology in English lecture. Hello, Ewa.
Hello.
Before we start, I would like to strongly encourage you to check updates on our website. There are 2 more meetings to come, which will cover the topics of the international academic skills, working and studying in multicultural teams, and more. My colleague Julia is available to answer any questions you may have in the chat box, so do not hesitate to ask them. Before we begin, let's watch a short video introducing you to SWPS University.
SWPS University is not just an institution, it is a community of people, united in their efforts, their experiences, and their potential. This idea has been our guiding light since our inception, and through this, we believe that as a seat of higher learning, we must recognize problems, recognize possibilities, and take responsibility for finding solutions to challenges. We understand that nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. And only by building bridges between people and institutions, and by supporting our business partners, can we break outdated patterns. We know that numbers are important, but relationships are crucial, and therefore we focus on people. We know that the world is both a beautiful and frightening place, and that we can have an impact on social change. Therefore, we focus on hard and soft skills, but mainly on human happiness. We believe that our university's roots in psychology can provide a foundation for other areas of expertise, that a solid understanding of business allows us to better meet the needs of society, carry out projects and research, provide expertise, and implement innovation that brings together academics and entrepreneurs. That thanks to the processes and technology we implement, we can provide a comfortable work and life environment, even in difficult circumstances like the global pandemic. We popularize science in many, really many ways. And we recognize that these are effects of our work, and this, and this. We believe that this is a well-designed chair, tool, application, experience. And as one of the most active research institutions, we can foster collaboration between the most renowned experts in Poland and beyond. And that the best experts, researchers and practitioners from a variety of disciplines, can specialize in many areas, such as human development, mental health, socially responsible projects, accessible design, human rights, civil society, new technologies such as AI, UX, image management, sustainable development, management, zero waste, eco-packaging, and many other areas. We know that a modern university never stops changing. Therefore, as SWPS University, together with our partners, academic professionals and students, we look to the future with courage. Not only are we ready for what tomorrow brings, but we can also shape the future. We, the university.
Welcome back. Now let's move on to the main part of the webinar. Ewa, so much is going on in the world today. We are facing constant crisis, climate change, military conflicts, uncertain future. Our candidates and students are from all over the world and may face different kinds of challenges. How this uncertainty affects our life?
Actually, Martyna, and hello everyone. Nice to be with you today. Yeah, one important thing is that I really enjoy talking to maybe our future candidates, because I've been teaching in psychology and English for several years. And I enjoy it a lot. So feel very welcome. Getting back to your question, actually, there were always times that were uncertain. So the circumstances, they change, but we always live in times that are difficult, that we go through crises. So looking at the history, we cannot say that there was a time that everything, everywhere in the world, there was peaceful and quiet and calm and everyone was safe. No, it's not true. So the truth is that actually what we should learn is how to cope with difficulties, how to cope with uncertain situations. And from my experience, and I've been working as a psychologist at the university, but also as a practitioner for 20 years. Today I had my anniversary in May. Yes, so I teach for 20 years and I practice my occupation. I am a psychologist for 20 years. And I must say that from many skills and abilities people can develop, one, the most important is to cope with negative emotions, with situations that cause fear, that cause anxiety, that cause some negative emotions. Negative emotions are very, very important. We need them. They are necessary. From the evolutionary point of view, actually, they are more important than positive ones, because negative emotions, they lead, they guide our way. They tell us what to do. They inform us about the situation. So we should not avoid negative emotions, but the problem is to learn how to cope with them effectively. And not every coping strategy, even the one that seems to be working in the particular moment, would be functional. Some of them, they can reduce the tension here and now, but in a longer period of time, they can cause a lot of problems, like drinking alcohol, right? Today during the lecture, I was talking about that to my students, that sometimes we choose a way to cope with negative emotions, like crises or difficulties that are rapid, they work very fast, but then they have side effects. And in a longer period of time, they cause a lot of problems. So I agree that right now we have a lot of certain difficult situations, as you said, like economic issues, wars and conflicts. But at the same time, everyone goes through own problems, own conflicts, own crises. And right now in psychology, we normalize those experiences. What means that we say that crisis is something that is normally imprinted in everyday life of every person. And what we should learn is how to cope with this conflict, how to resolve the conflict in a good way, in a way that would lead us to growth, to development.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And could you tell us how do we respond to stress and how does it influence our daily life?
This is incredible because people can react to stress in many different ways. And this is like we all experience that, not only humans, not only animals, because also plants, they experience stress. For example, for plants is a lack of rain or excessive rain, too much of water or not enough water. So, but of course, our stress, like human stress, is special for us because it refers to our lives. So people can react to stress in many different ways, but generally in psychology, we divide those reactions into three separate groups. So in general, people can react, can behave, choosing some strategies from one of those three groups, or from each one, from each group. But let's talk about those groups, right? So the first one, the most effective, is the group of strategies that we call problem-focused strategies. Problem-focused, what means that they focus on the problem, and the main goal of those kind of strategies is to resolve the stressor. So, for example, if you are stressed because of upcoming exam, for example, in the nearest session, the problem-focused strategy coping would be to learn, to study. So you plan your preparations, you go to the library, you read books, you take notes. You can also try to cope with stress during the semester, like visiting your lecture each week, attend your lectures. So, but then, of course, before that, you plan, you take a pen, you prepare the planning strategy, and then you learn, right? So this is problem-focused strategy. And this is the most effective because when you gain a control over the stressor, over the situation that causes stress, you feel strength, you feel a self-efficacy, and then the stress level naturally drops. But, you know, not always we can affect the situation. I mean, we cannot control everything. So sometimes situations happen that they are out of control. We cannot change them. For example, we break up the relationship, not because of us, but for example, our girlfriend, boyfriend just you know, wants to start something new and we are abandoned, right? And we cannot do anything about that, right? What we can do, we can of course ask for another chance. We can say that maybe we can change our some wrongful behaviors and so on. But generally, if a person decides to leave us and leaves us, we have to accept the situation, but it can be very painful and difficult. And this kind of stress is also very common, and also common among students because they are young adults and they start relationships, they fell in love. So in this situation, what we can do, we want to, because the stress is the reaction when you lose control. Okay, and you can regain the control by focusing on the problem. But if you cannot solve the problem, you have to try to regain the control over yourself, over your emotions that occurred throughout this reaction, right? So the second group, the first one was problem focus. The second group is emotion focus coping reactions or strategies. It means that you are trying to do something to reduce the emotional tension that accompanies this experience. Okay, so in this situation, what you can do when you feel tense, when you feel fear, when you are anxious or you are very angry, you can, for example, go for a walk or for a jog. Right? You can go to the gym and exercise to get rid of the overwhelming dose of hormones related with stress, like cortisol and adrenaline, noradrenaline. So when we exercise, like our ancestors, because their stressors required from them excessive physical activity, so very successful and strategy that can help to get rid of excessive tension is physical exercise. So you can do it in a gym or like indoor, outdoor. You can go for a jog, you can meditate, you can go for a yoga class, you can take a bath, you can go for a massage, right? So everything what you're gonna do with your body that would decrease the tension would belong to this second group of coping strategies, which are emotion focus. But there is also the third group of strategies, which are not so efficient, and they are tricky because sometimes they cause very fast, very rapid effect, like the tension would decrease, but then they cause a lot of problems. And we call this group avoidance or substitution strategies. So substitution means that instead of focusing on a problem, like the student who would like to pass the exam and prepare himself, herself to the exam session, instead of learning, studying, reading, comprehending this, literature, he or she is going to a party, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, or just going for shopping. So you are trying to veil your emotions with something which is a substitute, actually, right? So it takes away your attention from the stressor for a second, so it works. Today also I was talking about drinking alcohol because apparently it reduces the tension, but then you wake up and you have to face the reality. So finally, always you have to confront with the situation, even if you postpone it, even if you try to somehow pretend as if this is not happening, but the reality is happening. So if it's not excessive, like for example, you say, today I'm so tired, I cannot think about this anymore, I will think about it tomorrow. Then it can be helpful because you go to sleep, you sleep with your problem, and next day you wake up rested and you feel that, okay, right now I know what to do. But this is not avoidance strategy. It's something that you're trying to do with your emotions, right? But if you try to, especially chronically, if you are trying to avoid the stressor, like, okay, so maybe I don't have to think about the session. Let's do something else. Let's, play some series at the television. Let's go to a party, shopping, or just scroll your phone because you don't need to go anywhere. You can just lay down in your bed and take your phone. And when you are trying to do that, you indulge into it. You dwell upon the situation. And when you wake up next day, your problems are even more excessive.
Is there anything that we can do to improve our well-being while still we are under the stress? And what happens with us when the stressful situation finally ends?
Mm-hmm. Of course, and this is a big part of my job. I teach people how to cope with stress and what to do, how to improve well-being. So there are plenty of strategies they can use. About some, I've already said. Like we can go for a walk, we can talk to a friend, for example. When we unveil, when we talk about problems, when we open up about our problems, we have a chance to make a structure. They become more structured and we search for a solution. And also when we talk with other people, they can be an inspiration and tell us what they would advise to do in the situation. And sometimes we feel in this, in this black tunnel, we don't see any way out. But then we talk about something, about the stressor with someone, and it becomes very helpful because people can figure out some solutions that we would never think about, right? Actually, our well-being is in our hands. We can do a lot of things every day to improve our mental health, to improve our well-being. There are 5 pillars of well-being and healthy life, healthy long life. This concept was created by American psychotherapist, who's John Arden, and he created the model of seeds. Those seeds, they are grains of life, like a seed that you plant into the ground, into the soil, and they grow, right? They give some new life, and the plant is being grown. Those 5 pillars of well-being are seeds, like the acronym, the seed. The first S is social support. So people are a great source of positive emotions, energy, of help, of support. Many studies show that this is the most important thing in our life. And you know, I teach emotion and motivation, and for example, I talk about the neuroscience of the emotions, how they go through the brain and how the brain was being developed. And many research data proves that actually our brain, which is on the top of development in the whole animal world, could have developed not because of technical issues that we had to solve. Of course, it also improves our brain. I mean, we have to think and generate new ideas, and then we develop our brain. But the level of the development, most probably that we have, like the prefrontal cortex, was caused because human beings, like any other species, involves into relationships every day in such a number of relationships that there is no other animal in our world that engages into so many interactions throughout the life. So why the brain had developed? Because we had to solve conflicts, because we have to negotiate, we have to understand another person. And that's why it improves our nervous system. Of course, people are a source of support, but sometimes they also eat our energy. They also drain our energy. So the first seed from the seeds model, social support, means that you should look at your relationships that you have right now, analyze them, and see, do I, and get this conclusion whether I engage into those relationships the way I should, because we shouldn't only expect the support from others, but we also are a source of support. So it should be a reciprocal process, not only expect, but also give the support. So look at your relationships and try to analyze them, which one you would like to keep, which of them you would like to develop, and which of those you should just terminate because they are pointless, right? So the first grain of life, the first seed, is social support. Then we have double E. So the first E is exercise. And exercise is absolutely crucial from the mental health point of view, from the well-being that you asked me about. If we want to feel well, if we want to preserve our mental health, our well-being, we should move because it helps to reduce stress. But the other thing that is also very important why we should move is that when we execute the movements, when our body moves, then in our brain, very specific and very important protein is being produced, and its level is being increased. This protein is called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is the factor that helps our brain to formulate new neurons. This is absolutely crucial to stay healthy. It acts also anti-inflammatory, so it helps to preserve, for example, from depression. So movement, exercising regular, it doesn't have to be like very intense gym activity, but going for a walk, it should be regular, right? So choose the activity that you really like to do, that you feel fine about, that gives you pleasure, but do it regularly, because then your brain produces this brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the protein that helps your neurons to develop from the stem cells to the mature forms of neurons. So remember about that. The second seed is exercise. The third is education. Actually, this is why we meet today. When you when you learn something new, when you read, when you comprehend, when you analyze, when you have to solve problems, then this is the gym for your brain. So not only gym for muscles is important, but also gym for brain. So thinking, solving problems, doing something difficult. Don't be afraid. It hurts, it pains, it causes pain, but it's worthy because then your brain is being developed. And the fourth is diet, which stands for nutrition. So remember about healthy eating. So we need a lot of microelements and proteins and all the vitamins, and especially for brain, vitamins B from the B group are important, and we can find them in greens. So I encourage you to eat a lot of greens. And the fifth one, but I guess it's the most important one, the last one, S, is sleep. So remember about that. And especially, I guess, we have the majority of very young people, and sleeping is not very fancy right now, is not very popular. But I really encourage you to be counter-popular in this area, in this field, because thanks to that you can win. You can win your success, your health, your vigor, your energy, your happiness. We should sleep about 7-8 hours per day. And it's absolutely crucial for our complicated mechanism called our body, including brain, to regenerate and to be ready to go next day.
Thank you. Since our viewers are trying to decide on their future life and career, I wanted to ask you what to focus on while making such decisions and how to make conscious and well-thought decisions.
Mm-hmm. As a specialist in the area of motivation, I especially encourage young people to follow their dreams, to follow their passions, to follow their ideas. Because if you do something that you really like, that you really identify with, you can always earn money. You will always get a job. If you are passionate about what you are doing, if you are interested in what you are doing, then every employer would like to have this kind of employee. So the first thing is to distinguish those two types of motivation, internal and external motivation. We can do something because of some internal or autonomic, we call it autonomic motives, because, for example, we choose this field because we like it, we enjoy it, we feel happy when we are doing it. And many of my students, I teach at the psychology, I teach also in other majors, but especially in psychology area. And many of my students who study psychology, they are very passionate about that, right? So think about what gives me positive emotion, what is interesting for me. The high school times are finished. You don't have to learn things that are so dry and, not very interesting for you, and very often, unfortunately, redundant, right? So the time comes right now that you can learn something that you really like, that is a part of your hobby, that is a part of your interest. So the first thing is to be driven by this autonomous motivation, which means that I do something because I identify with that, or I experience positive emotions while I'm doing that. The external motivation that we call controlled motivation means that we do something that is controlled by some external factors. This factor can be a parent who says you should study something, right? Because you should have good occupation and then earn money. Of course, sometimes we are driven by those external, not autonomous but controlled motives. But remember that very often, after some time, we feel tired, we feel exhausted, we are burned out. And studies show that when people choose something they don't really like, they get burned out very, very soon. So my advice is to sit down right now and think about what I like to do. If you like to think, go to psychology. because psychology teaches how to think. And psychology is not only about the problems, psychological problems, or psychopathology. Psychology is about normative also, way of thinking, behaviors, emotions. Of course, we teach also about the pathology, but it's especially about thinking, about feeling, about our emotions. This is something, what I think that is the most crucial in everyday, in this contemporary world. When I look at teenagers, especially in Poland, because I have the most contacts I have with kids and teenagers from this area, they are lacking skills, practical skills, abilities, how to cope with emotions, how to cope with stress, how to become resilient, how to stay tuned, how to stay active, even though we face problems, difficulties, crises. And this is what gives psychology. This is the answer. And that's why I think that actually we should be taught those lessons at the very beginning stage of our education. And to some point, of course, nowadays at schools, there are some workshops for kids, but it's insufficient. It's still very insufficient. Yes, think about what you like, what you would be really excited about. But remember then, not everything that you're gonna learn in your major will be so exciting and interesting, but this is necessary. This is necessary also. We have to sometimes learn something that is not very in our interest, but focus especially on those subjects and areas that would give you some satisfaction.
Okay, so let's say someone made the decision to move to another country and pursue their studies abroad. Moving countries is a big step, a lot of procedures like applying for visa. And by the way, we also did a webinar about visa. So if you're interested, you can check it out. But please tell us what kind of feelings and emotions could be faced by our candidates while moving, and maybe, I'm sure you already have some tips on what they can focus on mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like moving to another country. I've been studying in the United States when I was a student, so I know it also from my own experience. But it's not easy, but it gives a lot of lessons and knowledge and skills. So it's really worth. It's worth it. What kind of feelings? You asked me about the feelings. Of course, negative feelings and negative emotions like anxiety, like uncertainty, like fear, and sometimes anger and loneliness also. Because at a daily basis, we don't recognize, we don't really think about how we are close to our close ones. And when we move, when we leave them, like parents, our siblings, our friends, when we leave them, then finally we start to feel this change, right? The lack of them. So, but as I said before, even though there are really a lot of feelings that are awaiting, those there are often negative feelings. But what is the most important is that this experience can teach us a lot. I used the word resilience, right, before. And resilience means the immunity for difficulties. Resilience is one of the most important psychological skills that can help people to find themselves out in the contemporary world. And you build resilience not in the times of prosperity, not in the times when you are safe, happy, and your parents do everything for you. You don't have to do anything, and your mom is doing laundry, and you have fresh tongs in your wardrobe. No, you build your resilience in the times when you have to fight for yourself. And of course, we are afraid because we had this umbrella over our head. I am a mother of 2 teenagers, and I also try to somehow protect them from the difficulties in this life. But at the same time, I'm a very conscious mother, and I also give them a possibility to experience difficulties because it builds resilience. So think about this moving out, moving abroad as about the very important lesson and experience that you can get that can build your resilience. So be prepared, plan. What is important is to plan what I'm going to study, where I'm going to live, with whom I'm going to move, because maybe you have friends with whom and it happens at our university. We have some, groups of students that were going together to the high school, and then they decided to go to the university together. But of course, don't worry. If you do it alone, it's even better, because then you can learn your resilience lesson even more. You will meet a lot of people, and especially at our university, we have a society of international students who support each other. So you can get also a lot of support from our university, from teachers, and the atmosphere, the climate, the vibes, they are trying to help those young people to find themselves out in this new reality. So think about what you want to study, talk to your parents, plan the path step by step, how you are going to go through this transition phase. So where you're going to live, maybe you want to search for a job, and many of my students, they work in Warsaw. So think about various conditions and factors that can affect your well-being in here, and then the stress level should decrease. When we have something under our control, then the stress is much lower. But of course, be prepared that situations will come that we cannot predict. We cannot control everything. And then, yes, you will try to find a solution. So try to develop this kind of thinking. Even though I don't have a strategy today, how I can cope with the situation, I'm going to think about this, take an advice from others, and I can develop the solution next day. Okay, so be open.
Thank you. So now I have a last question, because we went through the process of making the decisions and moving. So how to settle in a foreign country, because new beginnings are exciting, but we can feel a bit overwhelmed and lost maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the first thing is to acknowledge that this is normal. So don't be surprised, don't be astonished, it's normal. So this is something I also teach very often, that, guys, we think that positive emotions, they are more normative than negative emotions. No, this is not true, this is false. Negative emotions, they are the same normality as positive emotions, but they are not as pleasant. Okay, that's why we treat them, we consider them as worse somehow, as abnormal, but they are not abnormal. Of course, if they are not too intense and they don't last very, very long, because when they become chronic, then actually they can be more dysfunctional. So the first thing is that acknowledge and just accept that it can happen and this is normal. Nothing special about me, nothing wrong about me, that I feel anxious, I feel lonely, even though you are surrounded by some new friends, classmates, but still you feel lonely. So this is the first thing. And the second is to don't lock yourself in the room, in dormitory or some apartment that you're gonna rent. Go out. So search for social support, search for a job, go out to meet new people, Remember about the everyday routines related with sport and exercising, and what I said about this second seed, which is regular physical exercise. Attend to classes, go for lectures, and be engaged, be interested, and practice your mindfulness. And mindfulness means that you engage in everything you do in your life. So engage in a beautiful environment, in the trees that you pass in your area where you're going to live. So be open and mindful about the surroundings. Be mindful about your own place. So make a bed every day. This is simple, but this helps people to really stay healthy in terms of their emotions. So remember about everyday routines, clean up your apartment, prepare your favorite foods, remember about good eating, remember about social connections. And the most important thing is, before that, choose studies, choose major that you would like to grow, in which area you would like to grow. But then remember that you can change your mind. And don't feel ashamed, don't feel guilty, don't feel remorse when you would like to change your mind. Because every experience is important. Every experience teaches about something. Of course, sometimes it can be more difficult for parents to accept the change, but you can then use your new negotiative skills and learn how to communicate in the way that can change people's mind, influence other people, for example, your parents. So be mindful about what you like, how you feel about your studies, and don't be afraid to change something. If indeed you verified, you checked, and you say, no, I don't like it, you have a right to be wrong.
Thank you. I think that's all the time we have for today. Please remember that if you have more questions, you can also write an email to us. Also, you can learn about SWPS University directly from our students. So you can book an online appointment with them and ask there about their student experience at the SWPS University, about their situation, how they did the moving to Poland, and different aspects of living in Poland. So in the chat box, you will find a link to book an appointment. I would like to thank my guest, Ph.D. Ewa Jarczewska-Gerc, for a good deal of useful information, for which I'm sure many of our students will be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching us today. And please check our website for the upcoming online meetings that we've prepared for you. The very next one will take place on July 2nd, and we'll talk about the academic skills you may need when working in multicultural groups. Thank you very much for today, and see you next time.